You know that classic story of impossible love? Two people from completely different worlds falling for each other, going against everyone and everything. We've seen it with Romeo and Juliet. We've seen it in dozens of other movies. And it works because deep down, we all root for love to win. That's where today's movie comes in, Once Upon a Time.
Eu não vou aturar namoro seu com moleque de rua.
Pai, dinheiro não é tudo, não.
It takes that same premise, our own Brazilian Romeo and Juliet, and drops it right into the raw reality of Rio de Janeiro. On one side, there's Day, a hardworking kid from the favela dreaming of an honest life. On the other, there's Nina, a girl from the rich side of town who has everything but feels trapped in a bubble of privilege. The movie lures you in with the promise of a cute romance, but little by little, it shows its true face, a punch to the gut. A harsh, painful look at how social barriers can be deadlier than any poison. Day's life starts heavy. The movie throws us right into a gut-wrenching flashback. Little Day watches his older brother, Beto, get murdered during a stupid fight on a dusty soccer field. A life wasted over nothing. That trauma shapes him. From that moment, Day makes a promise. He's going to stay on the straight and narrow. He wants to live an honest life, far from the drugs and violence that swallowed his brother and so many others.
Avisa pra aquele safado, aquele negão macaco lá, que eu vou furar ele todinho, tá ouvindo? Chora, menino, olha pra mim essa porra.
He's the son of Bernadette, a housekeeper who represents millions of Brazilian women. A warrior, doing the impossible to raise her son far from crime. And Day sticks to the plan. He lands an honest job selling hot dogs at a stand on Ipanema Beach. That's his little kingdom, his safe zone. And every day between one customer and the next, he does the same thing. He looks at the skyscrapers on Vieira Souto Avenue, the priciest real estate in Brazil. But he's not just looking at any building. His eyes are locked on one specific window, a penthouse apartment. It's almost a ritual. He watches the life of a girl he's never touched, never spoken to. He's a survivor dreaming about a world that feels completely out of reach, a world he can only see from afar. For him, that window represents everything he isn't, everything he doesn't have. And that's where our Juliet lives. On the other side of that glass, in that ocean view penthouse, is Nina. She's our Juliet of the city. Only child of Evandro, a rich and powerful lawyer, she has everything money can buy. But if you're expecting the stereotypical spoiled rich girl from a generic teen movie, forget it. Nina is different. She's a rebel princess, but not in the cliche way with a nose ring and neon hair. Her rebellion is intellectual. She reads Cidade Partida, Divided City, a book that digs deep into Rio's brutal social divide. She questions the world she lives in. She feels a real discomfort with the golden bars of her penthouse cage. She doesn't want to live in a bubble. She's genuinely curious about the real Brazil, the one her father tries to keep outside the gated community walls. While Day dreams of living a different life, Nina dreams of understanding a different one. Her deepest desire is to break through the walls her social class has built around her. She refuses to be just doctor. She wants more. She wants to feel something real in a world that seems made of appearances and private security. And this search for authenticity is exactly what will lead her straight to that hot dog stand on the beach, where a guy with a traumatic past and an honest present watches her every day without her ever noticing. But every story needs a spark, a character that sets chaos in motion. And here, that character is Carlão. He's Day's adoptive brother, but he represents everything Day turned away from. If Day chose the hard road of honesty, Carlão is the tempting shortcut into crime. He's deep in the criminal world, so deep that he was kicked out of the favela years ago. The cruel twist? He was locked up for a robbery he didn't commit, and it was Day himself who turned him in, thinking Carlão had something to do with Beto's death. It's a tangled web of grief and resentment that's been brewing for years. Now Carlão is back. He's out of prison, but he's anything but free.
Eu tô livre, caralho!
His release was arranged by dirty cops and powerful crime bosses, and they don't take IOUs. They want their money back, and they want it now. Carlão returns to Contegelo with a desperate plan. Take control of the local drug trade. It's not just greed, it's survival. Either he pays up and becomes the boss, or he's the next body floating in the ditch. But Carlão isn't a one-note villain. He's complicated, the product of an environment that offers kids from the favela almost no real choices. He's Day's shadow, the what-if that our protagonist managed to avoid. And his return is the missing piece that finally sets the stage for tragedy. The countdown to disaster starts now. With the characters introduced, the story finally shifts into gear. Day and Nina's first meeting happens exactly where it should, at the beach, Rio's most democratic territory. But this isn't some cute romantic first encounter. Nina is just chilling when a group of guys tries to mug her. And guess who shows up to save her? Day. Our anonymous hero leaves his stand and confronts the thieves, protecting the girl he's been watching from afar. For him, it's the chance he's been waiting for, to finally be noticed. For her, it's a scare, but also a revelation. In that chaos, she doesn't see a kid from the favela. She sees a brave guy with a sensitive look in his eyes. She sees a kind of purity and authenticity that doesn't exist among the spoiled rich boys in her circle. For Day, it's love at first sight. For Nina, it's the start of a fascination. The realization that the real world, with all its danger, also has a beauty her protected world never showed her. From that point on, their romance blooms. Their meetups keep happening on the beach. They talk like they've known each other forever, sharing thoughts about books, music, dreams. The class and cultural differences that once felt like an unbridgeable gap start turning into bridges. He introduces her to Pagode and the simple joys of his world, and she introduces him to a world of ideas and possibilities. They realize that deep down, they're just two young people who want to love and be loved. But reality doesn't take long to knock, or better yet, buzz the intercom at her luxury apartment. Nina's father, Evandro, finds out about the relationship, and his reaction is exactly what you'd expect. The guy loses it. Not out of pure evil, but out of fear. A fear baked into the DNA of Brazil's elite. Fear of violence. Fear of the other. Fear that the favela will spill over and invade their little fortress. He forbids the relationship, threatens Day, and gives the classic "he's not right for you" speech.
Eu não vou aturar namoro seu com moleque de rua.
Pai, dinheiro não é tudo, não.
He becomes the living embodiment of the social wall between them, society itself saying, "Stay in your lane." But then something surprising happens. A tiny light at the end of the tunnel. Over time, watching his daughter's happiness and Day's character, Evandro starts to soften. He doesn't turn into Day's best friend overnight, but he begins to accept him. He sees that Day is a good guy, hardworking, and truly loves Nina. This moment is huge. The movie gives us a glimpse of hope, suggesting that maybe prejudice can be overcome. Maybe their love is strong enough to break even the oldest barriers. For a brief moment, we believe it too. We think a happy ending might actually be possible. But deep down, both Dee and Nina know it's not that simple. Even with her father's gradual acceptance, they feel the weight of the world pressing down on them. They know that Rio's invisible borders and quiet prejudices will never truly accept them as a couple. They'll always be the rich girl and the favela boy. That's why they come up with a plan: to run away. Save up money and head to Brazil's northeast to a place where no one knows them, where they can start fresh, far away from Rio's divisions and judgments. The bags are almost packed, the dream is right there within reach. But they didn't count on Carlone's return. Fresh out of prison, the first thing Carlone does is look for Day. He doesn't come back to apologize or to turn over a new leaf. He comes back carrying a mountain of problems. He owes money to the dirty cops and criminals who bought his freedom, and now he's running out of time. Carlone's only option is to dive headfirst back into crime and try to take over the Contagallo drug trade. This isn't greed, this is pure survival. And to make matters worse, Carlone decides to play the good brother. When he finds out about Day and Nina's escape plan, he throws them a farewell party in the favela. On the surface, it looks like a gesture of love, a celebration. But in reality, it's a trap. During the party, with Pagode playing and beer flowing, Carlone's debt collectors show up, cops and criminals all in the same place demanding payment. The party turns into a courtroom. Carlone is cornered with no way out. And in that moment of complete desperation, he makes the choice that seals everyone's fate. Out of panic, Carlone orders Nina to be kidnapped, hoping to get ransom money from Evandro.
Quem tá falando? Quem tá falando, porra?
In his mind, it's the only way to save his own life. He doesn't see Nina as his brother's girlfriend. He sees her as an ATM, the solution to every problem he has. The brother Day, once tried to save from a life of crime, becomes the architect of his downfall. Evandro panics. Desperate to get his daughter back, he does what any rich father with connections would do. No, scratch that. He does even more. Influenced by the very prejudice he had just started to overcome, he hands over a photo of Day to the press, accusing him of being the prime suspect in the kidnapping. The twisted logic is obvious. Who else would kidnap his daughter but the boy from the favela? The media, starving for a simple, sensational narrative, jumps on the story. Day's face is everywhere. On the news, in the papers. Within hours, he goes from victim, the worried boyfriend of the kidnapped girl, to public enemy number one. Day who hasn't done a single thing wrong, becomes the face of evil. The system, which had seemed just a little flexible for a moment, shows its true claws and its cruelest side. When Day finds out that it was his own brother Carlone who kidnapped Nina, his world collapses. All that effort to live an honest life, all the distance he tried to keep from crime, it all blows up in his face. The confrontation between the brothers is brutal and inevitable. This isn't just a family fight, it's the final clash between two possible paths for a kid from the favela. Day's hard-earned honesty against Carlone's criminal desperation. They fight, and in the heat of the moment, in his final attempt to save the woman he loves, Day pulls the trigger. A single shot to Carlone's chest.
Caralho. Pagou o moleque.
The cycle of violence that began with Beto's death ends with Day becoming a killer himself. Carlone, bleeding out, has one final moment of redemption. Too late, of course. With his last breath, he looks at Day and Nina and admits he was wrong. He tells them to run. Go, Day. Get out of here. With Carlone dead, Day and Nina run. The only place they can think of is the hot dog stand at the beach, the spot where Day has been saving every coin for their escape to the northeast. They reach the sand, breathless, desperate, but what they find is a nightmare. The beach, once their place of love and freedom, is completely surrounded. Dozens of police officers, squad cars, reporters, cameras, and onlookers. It's a circus, a public execution waiting to happen. The trap is closed. Society, which had already judged him, is now here to claim his body. There's nowhere left to run. Looking at the sea of police and cameras, they both know it's over. But they still have one last card to play. One last desperate plan. They decide to stage D's surrender. The hope isn't that he'll survive, it's that maybe, just maybe, Nina will. It's the ultimate sacrifice. Following the plan, Day releases Nina and slowly walks toward the police line. He raises his hands high, showing he's completely unarmed. He's surrendering peacefully. He poses no threat, but none of that matters. To the cops, Day isn't a young man giving himself up. He's the thug from the favela who kidnapped the rich girl. Justice had already been handed down hours earlier in the newsroom, and without the slightest hesitation, they open fire. Multiple shots. Day is gunned down in broad daylight in front of the cameras while surrendering. Watching the love of her life executed right before her eyes, Nina breaks. Her despair is raw, primal. There's no logic, no plan left. She grabs the gun that fell from Day's body, and in a blind act of fury against everything and everyone, she starts shooting. She's not aiming at anyone in particular. She's firing at the crowd, at the police, at the journalists, at the gawkers. She's firing at the system that just killed the man she loved, at the society that never accepted them. The police respond instantly with the same brutality. Gunfire erupts, and Nina falls to the sand, dead. In the final shot, we see Day and Nina lying side by side, their bodies embraced on the sand of Ipanema Beach. The same place where they first met, where they first fell in love, is now their grave. The border between their two worlds has become their tombstone.